All right, welcome back to Fight Talk, where we talk combat sports. My name is Austin Ullman. We're talking Beterbiev Bivol today, the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world taking place in Saudi Arabia this weekend. This is as 50-50 as a fight can be, without a doubt. We've got Beterbiev, who's more of the knockout power guy. He's got 20 wins. He's 20-0, all 20 wins by knockout. He's the only champion in boxing where all of his wins are by knockout. And then you've got Bivol, who is the exact opposite. He's the definition of sweet science. He's 23-0, has not been beaten. Just got in his last fight, he got his first finish in like 6 years. So this is a guy who picks you apart, does his thing for 12 rounds. So really different styles, but a really tough fight to pick. You just don't know. It is so tough. And so there's a lot of... This fight was supposed to happen, and then it was Beterbiev who got hurt. And the other thing that's big about this fight is Beterbiev is older, so he's slowing down just a little bit. We haven't actually seen it in the ring, but we're guessing it'll happen soon if he's human. This fight's going to take place, ring walks around 5:15 for Central Time Zone, 6:15 Eastern Time Zone here in the U.S. This is in Saudi Arabia, obviously. Shakur Stevenson was supposed to be the co-main event. He ended up getting hurt, so he's out of that. He was going to face Joe Cordina. Every single belt is on the line. The ring, IBF, WBO, and WBC, and WBA. This is an ESPN Plus broadcast. Obviously, the age difference there, Beterbiev is 39 now, but they're the same height, basically the same reach. They're both orthodox. And, I mean, it's just the definition of a 50-50 fight. Obviously in Saudi, without Turkey, this fight probably would have never been made. And every belt is on the line, like I said. Little stats to look at here. Both guys undefeated. Beterbiev obviously has a big-time knockout advantage, 100% to Bivol's 52%. Beterbiev is older. Beterbiev has a 1-inch reach advantage, as we talked about. And Beterbiev is less experienced. He has 3 fewer fights, and he made his debut late in 2013 and just hasn't fought a ton. Beterbiev's last fight was I think it was January 13 of this year, so it's been a while. And then Bivol ended up fighting on that Deontay Wilder card in the spring, early summer. So Beterbiev remains undefeated, stopping 5 of his recent opponents. He beat Callum Smith in his last fight, so that was probably his best win to date. That was in Quebec City. He had defeated Anthony Yarde before that. So these are good names that he was beating. When you look at Beterbiev, got Bivol coming up, but he beat Smith, he beat Yarde, he beat Joe Smith Jr. And so those are kind of the big names for him. For Bivol, you don't have those names. So that's going to be the difference, except for Canelo, obviously, right here, which we'll get into that fight, did beat Joe Smith Jr. But that was Bivol's big win, and that is what Beterbiev does not have in his pocket, is Bivol beat Canelo Alvarez. You can see the scorecards there, 115, 113 for each judge, that Bivol won unanimous decision. He did his thing, he picked him apart, and he won by rounds. And that was what really blew up Bivol. Doesn't seem like that next fight against Canelo will happen. So that's the difference there. Bivol's got the Canelo fight, Beterbiev does not. And this fight is taking place at 175. So that's what's going on there. Again, this was started about 5:15 here. Bivol's been more recent. Part of that just has to do with the Saudis, I'm guessing, is that Bivol's kind of been dealing more with the Saudis and fighting in Saudi. And so he's just been more active because the Saudis have been more active, frankly, than anyone else. And Bivol is currently minus 140 to win outright, plus 100 on Beterbiev for the upset. But it's truly 50-50, and they give it to Bivol probably because Those guys usually end up winning by rounds. When you have a fight like this, it's less likely that the guy that keeps getting the knockout is going to get the knockout against a guy as sharp as Bivol. And because of that Canelo win is obviously a big deal. But that's your stylistic matchup, is a guy in Bivol who's just going to pick you apart and win rounds and really not try for a finish. And if he gets a finish, in Beterbiev's case, he probably has Beterbiev hurt because these aren't one-punch finishes. All the finishes he gets are a combination of punches, and not like 5 to 7 punches, but like punching onslaughts. Like he needs usually 30, 40 punches to get someone out. But usually by the 7th or 8th round, he's got the guy back to the ropes and landing punch after punch, but very articulate and very smart with how he does it and never forces it. For Beterbiev, it's any punch, but he's just got a big right hand that he loves to get finishes with, and he's going to try to pull that thing out at some point. The full card, it was Shakur. It's not near as good now. You see the community predictions here, 58% to Bivol, so it's extremely close. I have no idea what we're going to get here. I really don't. I mean, I'll give a prediction at the end. But, man, it's so good. It's the best 50-50 fight we have in boxing. There's other boxing fights where it's like, I don't know what's going to happen there. Like Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. I don't know what's going to happen there. But this is like, we know what we're going to get from both guys, and it's just a matter of whose version is better. And for Beterbiev, good that he got this fight. People were worried that it wouldn't end up happening because of Beterbiev's age. But this is likely Beterbiev's big fight. Unless he continues to work with the Saudis, this feels like his big fight. And these are two guys that are both from Russia, too. I haven't mentioned that. But this feels like the big fight because Beterbiev's 39. And when you look at the other guys in the division, these fights aren't happening all that quickly. And so this feels like the one. And if he can beat him, he's a potentially top 3 pound-for-pound guy in the sport for either guy. And so that's the other thing. And let's get into that a little bit. We'll go to the ESPN pound-for-pound rankings and look at this and say, how could this change after this fight? So you've got Usyk at number 1 on ESPN right now, Crawford 2, Inoue 3. Personally, I have this is so hard. I have Inoue 1, and Crawford 2, and Usyk 3. But it's so close, and it is. I'm not going to get mad about anything. I respect anyone who has a different opinion because it is so close, but it's such a fun argument. But the question is, now if one of these guys wins, is it a 4-way horse race? Because right now it's these 3 guys. These are the 3 guys everybody's talking about. And whoever wins this fight could enter themselves into making this a 4-way competition. Obviously, Bivol is ahead of Canelo just because of the win over him, and then Beterbiev is there at 6. So these are 2 big-time pound-for-pound guys that are undefeated and could enter themselves in that conversation with guys like Inoue and Crawford and Usyk with a victory. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then the other thing is the divisional rankings for these guys. Here we go, 175. So we've got some names here. We're going to talk about Benavidez here, which I think he just signed a fight this morning. As I was looking at my phone, I'll have to find it later, but I think he signed a fight for January. And so it seems like he's sticking at 175 for the time being. So Bivol is 1 at 175. Beterbiev is 2. Benavidez is 3. Morel is 4. So it's really these 3 guys. And there's really no opportunities to move up for either of them. But then obviously if you go down, now we talk about Canelo. And really that's all. So will Canelo move up? Certainly doesn't seem like it from what we've seen. He's content with taking these fights against the Munguias and the Berlangas and the Andrades of the world. It just seems like that's where he's at, and that's perfectly fine. Seems like he's more interested in going down to fight Crawford even than he is going up to fight these guys. So he's kind of out of the picture just because it doesn't seem like he wants the Benavidez fight that bad. Doesn't seem like he wants the Bivol rematch that bad. But for these three guys, you've got Benavidez, who's a monster, but showed some holes at 175. He wasn't packing the same power in his first fight against Vodic at 75. That was the June 15 Gervonta Davis card against Frank Martin. And so I don't think he's ready to fight either of those guys yet. I think he's minimum 2 to 4 fights away from getting there. But obviously these two guys fight. But once again, Saudis come in, they can make stuff happen. And so then obviously here, the winner of this, everyone will certainly be calling for, if it's really close, a rematch, or otherwise the Benavidez fight. There's no option to go up. Doesn't seem like Canelo's interested. So Benavidez is the next name that we'll be talking about here. But man, I cannot wait for this. It's so 50-50. I'll give my prediction here. And my prediction's that Bivol wins. I think his style is just easier to bet on here. I think it goes 12 rounds. Usually in fights like this, it's going to go 12 rounds. And the guy that wins the rounds typically is going to win. He might get knocked down here, but I think he wins. I think it's really close on the scorecards. I'm not saying if it goes to 12 rounds, it's automatic that Bivol wins. Beterbiev can win rounds. He's not a Gervonta Davis type where he's dropping rounds but then gets a knockout or Wilder. This is a guy who can win rounds too and dominate rounds. And honestly, neither of these guys, besides Bivol and Canelo, they've both just won basically every round they fought. And so something's going to have to give here. But yeah, this will take place at 5 o'clock in Saudi on October 12th. I am picking Dimitri Bivol, and then hopefully we can get the David Benavidez fight after that. This one, it doesn't seem like it's necessarily flying under the radar. If you're a boxing sicko and you love boxing, this is like top of the line. This is two guys who, in the boxing of 5 years ago, probably would have never fought each other. But now with the Saudis involved, they are fighting. That's just the difference in boxing right now. And so for boxing fans like that, this is a dream come true. For boxing fans who are the Tank and guys like that who only watch Tank and don't want to see a 12-round kind of less chance of a knockout fight, I would encourage you to watch. I think it will really give you a love for the sweet science. And by the way, I wouldn't say that about everyone. In fact, I wouldn't even say that for Shakur. I would invite my friends to watch Shakur. Now, I think Shakur's great. I wouldn't invite people to watch him and say, watch this sweet science. These two, I would. This is different because they know how to finish and they try to finish. And it's not just defensive, but it's high volume on offense, trying to land punches. Shakur is hesitant on offense at times, and that's why I wouldn't. But with these two guys, they are not hesitant on offense. There's going to be a lot of punches thrown, high volume, and quite sharp. And I can't wait. So ESPN Plus, DAZN, overseas. I've got Bivol. Wouldn't be surprised either way. But I'll be coming at you guys with a post-show after the fight, hopefully Saturday night. If not, it should be there by Sunday and could be as late as Monday. But we'll see what happens with that. And then obviously I'll be recapping the UFC Fight Night that's taking place, Royval and Tara and the Apex. I think the main event for that, I think the main card for that starts at 7. So you can watch the main card after watching this. And we'll have a post-show for all of that stuff. Next week in the UFC is Fluffy Hernandez and Michelle Pereira. And also is Francis Ngannou next week against Ferreira. So this is the big boxing fight of October. Last year in boxing, we had the Logan Paul KSI in October. The Logan Paul Danis and then KSI Tommy Fury. And then we had Fury and Ngannou. That crazy fight. Remember that? That was October 21 last year. That was October 28. Sorry. Volk Islam was October 21. And that Logan Paul was October 14. October was loaded last year. Not as much in the boxing world this year, but this is a great fight. It got canceled the first time. We're finally getting it. And so that's all I've got for now. Dimitri Bivol gets the victory. I am Austin Oman, and I will see you next time.